My name is Lindsay Holloway. I grew up in Cookeville. I was a varsity cheerleader, vice president at FCA. My parents divorced when I was 12 years old, and it hit me really hard. That was when I started getting into the wrong kind of friends and kind of rebelling. By 16, I was in cocaine, meth, and I completely dropped out of everything. When I went full-fledged into my addiction, it was probably about 22. At this point, I was cooking meth, I was selling meth, pretty much anything that I could get my hands on to make money to support my habit. I mean, I'd lost everything. For the 8.5 years that I was in and out of jail in the criminal justice system, I never got the help or the tools that I needed. What I did get was more connections, more education on how to do things without getting caught, more people to do the crimes with. The crime that I committed that led to my felony charge and finally the turnaround in my life was possession and selling of stolen weapons. I was facing 6 to 10 years in federal prison as well as $1 million in fines. At this point was when I finally got the help that I needed.
I'm Braden Busek, and I'm the Director of Litigation for the Beacon Center of Tennessee. By the time I was assigned Lindsay's case, I'd probably been a prosecutor for about 5.5 or 6 years. She had gotten herself in a lot of trouble, but what made Lindsay's case remarkable to me is that you could see the very clear line trajectory of a person who was on track to be successful in life, and then that sharp departure once you introduce a controlled substance. Lindsay had been taking extraordinary means to rehabilitate herself. The evidence indicated that there wasn't great reason to think that she was going to be at a high risk of reoffending.
By the time I went to court, my life was completely different. Braden stood up and said that from what they had seen, that they thought that I would never commit another crime and that they would be willing to give me the 2 years of probation. I've now been clean for 7 years from methamphetamines, 2 years from alcohol and pills. I'm currently the women's leader for the Life Church Jail Ministry in Putnam County. And then my husband and I started a class on Thursday night called This is Living, where we minister to the men and women after they've been released from incarceration and addiction to help them learn the skills that we've learned.
Lindsay's story is a prime example of someone who made a mistake, made some bad choices, but went into a system that was broken, that failed to fix those early on, and actually perpetuated them. One of the biggest problems with our current system is that we have this hodgepodge of juvenile justice laws where juveniles, when they enter the system, they're treated very differently from one place to another. So we really need to overhaul our juvenile justice system because frankly right now it's a pipeline into the adult prison system, and that's a huge problem.
I believe that if the system gave more tools to address things such as addiction or mental illness, there would be a greater track record of rehabilitation, less of a need for incarceration, and perhaps most importantly, less of a need to re-prosecute the same offenders over and over again because there's an underlying issue that's never been addressed.
Right now we have, for example, a massive problem with a revolving door of our prisons. Our recidivism rate is about 46%, meaning almost half of those who leave prison are back in within 3 years. Well, they're creating more victims, they're costing taxpayers more money. This is a huge problem. So our primary focus is protecting public safety by reducing recidivism. Well, there are several ways you can do that. One is just to have better reentry programs, whether it's workforce development or education programs in prison and in our parole and probation efforts, so that those that are leaving prison actually have an opportunity to become productive members of society. Another way is just how we're funding our prison system. We really shouldn't be funding it just based off the number of people in it. That creates an incentive to have more people in it, right? We should be funding it based off outcomes. Are we reducing recidivism? Are we getting them drug treatment if they have a drug addiction issue? Are we helping them find employment?
If I had encountered a treatment program at much younger, I don't think I would have lost the 8.5 years of my life that I did. I don't think my crimes would have escalated. I don't think my addiction would have escalated. And I think I would have been able to come back into society like I have now.
A lot of other states have shown that we can be very thoughtful and bold about criminal justice reform in a way that allows you to be tough on crime and make sure you're punishing those criminals that deserve to be punished, but that you're also making sure that those who are leaving the system reintegrate and are successful so that we can reduce crime rates, so that we can enhance public safety and save taxpayer money in the process. And that's really our end goal.